Thanks so much for joining this yoga practice to celebrate the full worm moon in the sign of Virgo. The full worm moon is the time of year in which we truly connect to the earth. The signs of life are returning and we are encouraged to spend more time outdoors and reconnecting with the changes in nature. We're going to embody this practice of connecting to the earth with a more grounding, slow hatha style of yoga today. We'll be focusing our awareness in the grounding nature of our feet and the movement of the ankles. If you'd like to bring along any crystals to this yoga practice, Hematite, black tourmaline, or moss agate would be perfect for inspiring those feelings of grounding. And if you wanted to bring along any essential oils, cedarwood, pine, or patchouli would be perfect for this. When you're ready, let's begin. Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining to celebrate the full worm moon in a yoga practice. So with any full moon, there can be this kind of influx of energy, and sometimes if it's not aligned in the right way or in the right way for you, it can manifest as strong emotions, frustrations, or resistance. So today we're really going to embody that grounding earth element. The full moon is actually in the sign of Virgo as well, so this is amplified by that intention, and we're going to embody that sort of spring setting, that beautiful rooting through the earth. So we're going to start today actually in a tabletop position, and just while we take a few rounds of cat-cow here, we want to work a little bit with that intention setting, so it can be more of a physical thing. You can feel all 10 fingertips rooting into the earth. If you prefer to do this with your toes tucked under, actually sometimes this can be quite a nice way of connecting to the feet. So as we inhale, we lift through the chin, the chest, let the belly drop down and the tailbone reach up. As we exhale, we round the spine, pushing the earth away. Feel that connection between the fingertips, the wrists, the elbows, through to the shoulders and the spine. As we inhale, we extend. And as we exhale, we round. One more time. As we inhale, bring yourself back to a neutral position. You can untuck those toes for a moment and then bring your right toes to the back of your mat. From here, bring your right foot over to the left side, so just off the yoga mat. Make sure we're strong through the foundations of the arms. Don't collapse through the shoulders. Keep the belly hugging in. And you can stay here, or you can start to turn and look over your left shoulder towards your right big toe. This not only stretches through the side of the body, the obliques and the IT band, but also down into the muscles that surround the joints of the ankles, a little bit to the fibularis longus as well, the muscles on the outside of the shin. And so just finding that lovely stretch there. Bring your foot to the back of the mat. Now, if you have sensitivity in your wrists, you may actually want to come down onto your forearms for this next one. And we're going to start to bring the weight forwards and back, shifting into the toes, and then pressing through the heel and noticing the sensation through the calf, Achilles tendon. We're really connecting to the feet today, noticing that sensation as we ground towards the earth. Beautiful. And then if you were on your forearms, you might want to just come back up. And then from here, bring your right knee underneath your right hip. Inhale, bring your left toes to the back of your mat. Strong through the upper body first, and then bring your left toes over towards the right side. And you can stay with this, really isolating a little bit more actually into the hip, or start to side stretch over towards the right side, looking out over your right shoulder, towards your left big toe. And see if you can charge that left heel away as far as it can reach without straining. Bring your left toes to the back of your mat, either keeping up onto the wrists or come down onto your forearms as we start to shift the weight forwards and back. Feeling this movement, maybe even through the tiny knuckles of the toes, almost rolling the foot. And bring yourself back to neutral. Bring your left knee underneath your left hip. Now, tuck your toes under. Sometimes the pinky toe gets a little bit stuck, so if you need to untuck that, you can do that. And from this position, you can stay where you are, really gently pushing through the ball of the foot so you get a bit more sensation through the fascia of the foot. If you have plantar fasciitis, No more than this. This will already be enough for you probably. But if you want to take it a bit further, you can either press back into a variation of child's pose, walking the hands forward and relaxing the head down towards the floor, or alternatively, you can walk yourself up to a variation of hero's pose, sitting the hips towards the heels, and straight away you're going to start to feel a little bit of intensity here building within the feet. So just rest your hands to your lap, breathing through the nose. Notice the thoughts as they rise. Notice if emotions start to bubble up to the surface, or that little countdown, that little timer in your head starts to rise to the surface. Instead, see if you can embody being present, feeling the sensation as the intensity builds. One more breath. Exhale fully, and then bring yourself forwards. Untuck your toes, tap the tops of the feet to the floor. First counter posture could be traditional child's pose with the hips to the heels. Once again, you could come into hero pose now with the tops of the feet flat, bringing a bit of weight down into the heels. As long as you have no recent injuries to your ankle, even your knees, you may want to bring your hands back behind you and start to just gently elevate the knees off the floor a few degrees until you feel some sensation running through the front of your shin, the anterior tibialis. And then just gently bring yourself forwards once again. From here, we're going to make our way to a downward facing dog. So fingers spread nice and wide, tuck the toes under as you lift your hips up and back. As always, we start with a bend to the knees. We make sure that we prioritize the length of the spine over the depth of the stretch to the backs of the legs. However, today it might feel nice to really generously bend your right knee, really bend it. You may notice your hips shift slightly to the right, and you can press your left heel down towards the floor. Notice whether you feel more sensation through your hamstring, your calf, Achilles tendon, or even the sole of the foot. And then we switch. Bend the left knee really generously, press the right heel down. Feel that sensation running through the back of the right leg. Breathe. Try your best to keep your gaze steady. Remember, we're working on grounding today. Then bring yourself back to down dog, maybe pressing both heels towards the floor. They don't have to reach. And then walk yourself forwards to the front of your mat into a ragdoll. Feet are hips width or even wider. And just start by shifting the weight forwards, back. Notice the natural range of motion of the feet. You could also shift side to side. Notice how this influences your positioning through your knees, through your hips, and even through your spine as you shift the weight. Now, from this position, we're going to bring the palms of the hands under the soles of the feet. So I'll turn so you can see a little bit better. For a lot of us, we're going to need to bend the knees straight away here because the hamstrings will probably be a little bit tight. So bend the knees enough that you can bring the palms of the hands under the soles of the feet, toes to wrist creases. Do your best to keep your spine a little bit long here. And just notice how this feels as you connect the soles of the feet and the palms of the hands together. If you've been doing this practice a while, you may want to straighten your legs and actually start to bring your chin towards your shin, relaxing your shoulders, getting more sensation through the hamstrings and the calves, but we don't want to force this movement. Instead, see if you can shift the weight into the toes, even here, with the hands under the feet, to the point where you feel a lightness through those heels. Your hips are over your heels. Even a little massage here, from the palms of the hands to the soles of the feet back into the palms of the hands. And then when you're ready, release the palms. Either relax down into a ragdoll. If you prefer, bring your hands to the waist. And very gently, one vertebrae at a time, we're going to rise up to standing. So the head is the last thing to come up. And when we get to the top, we take a deep breath in through the nose and exhale fully. We want the feet to be hips width distance apart in our mountain pose, and we're going to connect to what's called Pada Bandha, or the foot lock. And you may have seen this before, where we engage the arches of the feet to create stability through the postures. And sometimes that's quite hard to do, especially if you've had fallen arches in the past. So I want you to lift your toes, and you'll notice more than likely the pressure builds in the ball of the foot. You'll start to notice that point under the big toe that really pushes into the floor. And then once you can feel that arch beginning to lift, you can soften the toes, but do your best to maintain that arch of the feet. This is the position we want for stability of the foot, and not just the foot. You'll notice as you find the arches of your feet, your quadriceps activate a little bit to create support through the lower back and the pelvis, and in turn create a more stable foundation for your upper body as well. So really it all starts with the feet, with this foot lock, and we want to be able to find this strength and this support. Now we're going to move into a chair pose. For many of us, keeping the feet hips width will be more balanced. Some like to bring the big toes to touch. So it's entirely up to you. And we're going to move into a chair to explore the range of motion through the lower part of the leg. So the soleus muscle, which stretches through to the Achilles tendon. We're going to inhale, sweep the arms back, sink the weight into the heels, and then you can sweep your arms forward and up, palms shoulder width or palms touching. But I'm going to recommend today, unless you really want that fire building, you're going to bring your palms together at the center of your heart. Sink the weight down into the heels and do your best not to collapse the spine forward, but keep the weight over your hips so there's a lightness in those toes. And as you sink lower, you may notice, you may not, some stretch here through the backs of the calves. So it's the more deeply rooted soleus muscle that you'll start to feel here, if you feel anything at all. We're going to inhale, straighten through those legs. Just for a moment, exhale here. We're going to do the same again, but this time we're going to add movement to the heels. So inhale, exhale down into your chair. Inhale, option to sweep the arms forward again. And then as we exhale, bring the arms back and see if you can lift the heels up over the balls of the feet, engaging through the calf muscles now as your belly hugs in. As you inhale, move into that chair pose again, reaching the arms up, heels to the floor, weight into the heels. And then as we exhale, sweep the arms back. You're probably feeling a bit of heat building here, if not already. Inhale, reach those arms up. As you exhale, awkward chair, lifting those heels back. As you inhale, chair pose. And then as we exhale, back to mountain pose. Just take a breath. Feel that sense of rooting once again through the earth, through the feet. Find those arches if perhaps we lost them. And then we're going to feel strong through the left leg. Keep that rooting, keep that sensation as you start to shift the hip slightly so it stacks now over your heel. Find the external rotation to your right hip, bringing the right heel towards the left ankle. Find this position with the toes pressing to the floor, a nice stretch here through the fascia of the foot, or close off the knee joint, bring the sole of the foot into the calf. See if you can find that engagement of pushing the calf back into the sole of the foot. If you do want to take it deeper, you can bring the sole of the foot towards the inner thigh. See if you can hold the foot there on its own. If not, you can use your hand to help support you. Shoulders relax. We're going to be here for a few breaths, so really engage in the stability of those arches of the feet, once again shifting the weight. We're going to have another chance to explore this again or take it a little bit deeper in a moment. But for now, we want to feel that sense of rooting through the standing leg. We want the arches to draw up through the quadriceps. Your right foot is pushing into the left and the left is pushing into the right. The crown of the head is drawing away from the tailbone and we're finding that length as your thumbs press into your heart space. As we inhale, bring the right leg through center. And then as you exhale, release, switching sides. So prepare by nice strong foundations through the right leg. Left leg rotates, heel to ankle, toes press to the floor, sole of the foot to the calf, or once again towards the inner thigh. Take as much time as you need to set up. It's not about rushing into the poses today. It's about creating that integral sense of stability through the standing leg. Shoulders are relaxed. Everything draws in and up. Finding that support through the rooting of the toes, that lift through the arches, almost like how trees spread their roots deep, wide, and then they draw up towards the crown. We find that length. As you inhale, draw your left knee through center. And then as you exhale, gently release. Now we have the option to take this next variation a little bit further, or you can do exactly the same as what you just did. So from this position, find the external rotation to your right hip once again, similar, or this time you can take a pigeon pose, crossing your right ankle over your left thigh, and you can just gently bend into that standing leg. I'll turn side on so you can see a little bit better. You could also close off the right knee joint. Draw it into half lotus by drawing your right knee back, down and in towards your left. Either half prayer, or if the foot stays there on its own, full prayer. Do your best to keep your belly hugged in. And then you can start to fold forwards, either bringing the hands to the earth or lifting the heel. Bring your hip towards your heel, your sit bone towards your left heel. Walk one hand in, maybe walk two hands in. Now this pose is pretty advanced, so don't worry if you fall out, but if you do find this position, see if you can really find that rooting through the toes. Breathing, don't hold your breath, whichever variation you're in, for 3, 2, 1. See if you can come out the same way you came in, don't worry if you can't. If you need to do a little emergency rollout, that's fine. Otherwise, coming all the way back up, draw your right knee through center and release. Take a breath here and exhale fully. Doing that now on the other side. So rotating your left hip, heel to ankle, sole of the foot to the calf or the inner thigh, or pigeon, crossing the ankle over the thigh, flexing those toes back. If you're taking that half lotus, once again, close the knee joint, draw the knee back, down and in, so we find that rotation, half prayer or full prayer. Stay here or start to fold. Maybe bending the knee, bringing the sit bone towards the heel. Walking one hand, maybe two hands in. Finding your balance, whichever variation you're taking. Remembering there's no right or wrong, no better or worse, as long as we're looking to find that sense of grounding, of balance through the standing leg. If you're still in your toe stand, just gently come out the same way you came in if you can, and then very softly bring your left knee through center and gently release. Good, give your legs a little shake, they're probably feeling quite fired up. So just give them a little bit of a release, making sure the energy is circulating through the body. We're gonna move into an eagle pose. So we're going to bring the arms out to the side. Now, if you don't want to add the arms, you don't have to add them in at all. And then exhale, bring your right arm underneath your left. Take your hands to your shoulders, backs of the hands or palms of the hands can touch. Do your best to draw your elbows down towards your navel. Your shoulders are relaxed, but your chin is away from your chest. We inhale, exhale, sink down into your chair pose. Okay, we've already been here. You can always just work with this again. Or keep the weight into the left leg as you bring the right toes to the right. Cross the right thigh as high up on the left as you can. You can point those toes or hook the top of the foot behind the standing calf. Now do your best to guide your knees, your elbows towards the midline so we're not twisting through the spine. Everything is drawing forwards, inwards and upwards. Shoulders are over your hips, you're not letting your torso drop. Weight is into that left heel. For 3, breathing, grounding, feel this in the feet. 2, 1, bring your right leg through center. Sweep the arms all the way up. If you need a rest, take one. Otherwise, exhale, left arm underneath your right. Find your position. Inhaling. Exhale, weight into the heels. Bring the weight into the right leg, left toes to the left, and then cross the left thigh as high up on the right as you can. You can keep both feet on the floor, tapping the toes lightly. This also gets a nice stretch actually through the front of the ankle. Or eventually you can hook the top of the foot behind the calf. Now this is actually working in an E version of the left ankle, which is something we don't do that much of in every day or even in our yoga practice. And so sometimes this hooking of the foot can feel a little bit strange. So don't worry if it feels a bit odd, but just notice the sensations as they rise. Bring the weight back into that right heel and feel that stability as best as you can. Breathing for 3, 2, 1. Left leg through center, sweep the arms up, and exhale through heart center. Now heel toe your feet wide, about mat width distance. We're going to move into a garland pose, breathing in. As we exhale, sink the weight down into the heels. Now this is less about getting the hips low or opening through the hip, the rotation in the hips. This is more about the ankles actually. And so if this feels like a lot, use a block or a couple of pillows under your sit bones so you can release your heels to the floor. It may even mean that you don't come all the way down, that you just come halfway into this kind of wide leg ragdoll, and that's fine as well, especially if there's a lot of pressure on the knees. What we're wanting to do is work on pressing those heels down so we can stretch here through the Achilles tendon, and also so we can notice the distribution of weight between the feet. There's a tendency to let them roll in towards the big toe side. See if you can press through the pinky toe edges of your feet, finding that even distribution of weight and finding that grounding. Breathing in. As we exhale, now see if you can relax down onto the floor. If not, you can come up to standing and then make your way down however you need to, but see if you can just bring your sit bones down, as long as there's no pain, and then bring your legs out in front into a bound angle position. If you've got pretty tight knees, you may want your feet a little bit further away from your hips. Otherwise, try to get them in as close as you can towards your sit bones. This is less about, once again, this is less about the hip opening. We're not trying to get the knees to touch the floor here. I don't think I could even if I tried. So we're more actually focusing on the rotation and, the movement of the ankles and the feet and how that correlates along the joint chain, how this affects the knees, how this affects the hips as we open up. So I want you to imagine here that your feet are like a book. Your big toes are starting to peel away from each other and the pinky toe edges of your feet are pressing together as you wrap your thumbs towards the inner arches of the feet and your fingers around the tops of the feet. Now this can actually be a really nice opportunity just to massage here through the fascia, noticing any tension we feel through the connective tissues of more than likely the arches, but sometimes even towards the heel of the foot as well, or between the transverse arches of your toes. Relax your shoulders. Now you can stay here for another breath, or you can start to fold forwards, bringing your chin or even your chest down towards the floor, but try your best not to round down, okay? We're not trying to get the head to touch the toes, we're actually trying to reach forwards as the elbows hug in. And we continue to press the pinky toe edges of the feet together. So, I don't know if you can sort of see there, but almost my feet are opening up towards the ceiling. If this causes strain on your ankles though, ease off. As we inhale, come back up. Use your hands to help guide your knees back through center. And we're going to come to lay down on our backs. So we're just going to finish with either a wind relieving pose, hugging the knees in, or a happy baby. And so actually today it might feel nice. Use your thumbs to just gently press. So there's actually 7 points along the inline of your feet. So if you just start with your thumbs towards your heels and walk in 7 points, your thumb up towards the point of your big toe. And just press there. You can do it a couple of times, or you can just use your hands to massage the soles of the feet a little bit here if that feels nice. We do so much walking and working, sometimes we forget about the feet. Once you've done this again, maybe you want to reach your fingers towards the outsides of the feet. A little bit more tricky to get a hold, but maybe you want to just gently draw the outsides of the feet slightly down. Maybe wrap the hands to the toes, getting a nice stretch here, bringing the toes slightly back towards the ankles. And then you might want to hug your knees in for this. You can point your toes, bring your heels towards your sit bones, and just use the hands to just gently stretch out through the fronts of the shins. Almost like a child's pose, I suppose, on your back. And then when you're ready, just hug your knees in again and relax long into your Shavasana. Bring your arms alongside your body, feet nice and wide, closing off your eyes. And we remind ourselves the purpose of this practice. The purpose was not to find deep balance, to find deep rooting and strength in the body. The purpose was to find grounding. The purpose is to find that earth-like quality in our practice on the worm full moon. Even if nothing else, even if just energetically, we can amplify those qualities of the earth energy and feel slightly more settled during this full moon, the work is done. Everything else is optional. I wish you all of the best as you journey through this worm full moon. I hope you can embody some of these earthly qualities as we transition into the spring season. Maybe you're able to get out in nature, do a barefoot walk, or just perhaps get out in your garden and see what's going on out in the world at the moment. But however you choose to spend your full moon, I wish you truly all the best. And thank you all so much for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.